There are many things you hear about livestock production and meat and poultry products that simply aren't true. Now the experts are giving you the true story. Few people realize that many universities offer degrees in animal and meat science. These scientists help ensure that the livestock we produce are healthy and high quality, and that the meat and poultry we eat is safe and nutritious. While these experts know a whole lot about meat, few Americans do. Recent polling has identified the top meat myths. What follows are the reactions and the facts from our nation's leading experts, who gathered at the annual meeting of the American Meat Science Association.
Dr. Swanson, consumers tell us that they're not sure there's enough federal oversight of livestock at meat plants. You're an animal welfare expert. What can you tell us about how USDA oversees livestock?
Well, I can tell you that based on the legislation that was passed back in 1978 called the Humane Slaughter of Livestock Act, it was groundbreaking that we needed to have rules and legislation in place with regard to securing that livestock are rendered unconscious prior to slaughter. And since that time forward, we've made many improvements. We've got inspectors that are trained and have different audit points and so on that they must take while they're actually observing the slaughter and stunning of livestock, so that we can assure the public that those animals, in fact, are rendered unconscious before slaughter.
So inspectors are on site at plants checking this
Yes,
all the time?
They are on site at the plant. It's required by federal law that they be there during the slaughter of animals.
Now, is there a benefit to humane handling of livestock from an economic perspective?
Absolutely. First of all, the care of those animals is very important with regard to determining the quality of the product that you're going to get. Meaning all the way from the producer to the plant, we have to be very careful in how we manage and we handle those animals, through the loading process onto the trucks that will transport them to the plant, the loading of those animals, and then ultimately how they're handled through that plant up to the time that they're stunned. And what we found based on the research that we've seen is that if these animals experience a lot of stress, upset, or are mishandled or abused during this process, that in fact you will see that expressed in the quality of meat that we have. For example, with beef cattle, we know that stressed beef cattle prior to slaughter will give us a darker colored, drier, firmer meat than animals that have been handled properly.
So there's an economic benefit to handling animals humanely?
Absolutely. There's a lot of incentives for producers, for transporters, and for plant handlers to take care of those livestock all the way through the system.
So Dr. Swanson, sometimes consumers see an undercover video shot in the plant that can be very unsettling, and it can leave the impression that this is how all livestock are handled nationwide. Can you shed some light on this?
Yes, I think it's unfortunate when we have this sort of video that is shot within in a plant. We capture behavior that may be not in concert with what we expect, both legally and also professionally. However, we do have a framework in place legally to be able to handle those types of incidences. It should be reported immediately. And then USDA, other officials would be enacted to investigate and properly address those issues for the plant.
So Dr. Rains, consumers tell us they're a little concerned that there may not be enough meat inspection occurring. Can you give us the facts?
In terms of meat inspection, it's happening all the time. In the United States, we have many, many meat processing plants, very small, very large. And they're always inspected whenever they're operating.
Always? Always.
Continuous inspection. If the plant is operating and they're creating food, there's an inspector there watching.
So how many inspectors? Is it always just one? Or?
Oh, well, that depends on the size of the plant. Very, very large plants, 500 or more employees might need 25 or more inspectors, and they're there during each shift. Whereas very small plants, maybe 2, 3, 4 people working there, they might have one inspector. So it just depends on how big the plant is and what they're doing. That's sort of for the distribution of the inspectors.
Okay. Now, do all foods have this level of inspection?
No. There's FDA products and there's USDA products. USDA, Food Safety and Inspection Service, FSIS, they take care of meat and poultry. Then there's FDA, and they sort of get everything else. They have a lot more products and a much more diluted inspection pool. So we have continuous inspection all the time, and they have sort of, I won't say spotty, but you know, occasional inspection.
Okay, and so do USDA inspectors actually have authority to take action?
Sure. Depending on the plant and what they're operating on, they can shut down the line, they can actually shut down plants, they can condemn product, they can retain products for further testing. Those are just some examples of what a USDA inspector can do.
So it sounds like when you see that USDA seal, it really means it was inspected.
That's right, there was someone there.